Good day, YouTubers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. We got 4 more cannons rigged up with their pulleys and blocks and tackles. I haven't glued the cannonballs down in there yet, but I do have the cannons themselves all glued in place and the eyelets drilled and glued into the wall. So we got 6 more to go up here. Of course, last week we finished these, and we did some cannonball boxes last week. So this week, obviously a day or two ago, I did these 4, and to take a break before I do these 6, I'm looking ahead in the plans after the last 6 is doing some baling pin racks. So I'm going the wrong way here, yeah. So this is last week, other than the front 6, and we did the cannonball boxes. So now we got 1, 2, 3 with legs on them, and then 6 of them that are going to mount onto the gunny wall somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So got the parts out and cleaned up, and I noticed I'm looking at the baling pins ahead of time out of the kit box, and I said, oh, I might as well go ahead and paint them up. So this is a jig board I used for the last ship to make little loops of rope to lay on the deck or to hang on the baling pin rack. And that's what these nails are for here. So I went ahead and drilled a bunch of holes in this jig board and stuck all the baling pins in there that are in the kit. And of course I measured a couple of them just to get an idea, because they were really tight fitting in this rack board. And I went ahead and opened up the holes on this rack board to 1.5 millimeters, as it was like 1.3. And the pins, because they're tapered on the bottom, weren't going down into the rack all the way. And after we paint the top part here, I'm not going to paint the bottom, I don't think, but after we paint the top part, we want that to go down in there all the way to that little neck that's on the baling pin. So we had to open up all these holes on these boards, and I'm sure there's going to be others. And then I pre-cut these. Instead of 16 millimeters like the plans call for, I'm going with 18 millimeters. And then I went down 3 millimeters to mark where I'm going to cut that finial on the top. So we're going to put that in the drill press, and upside down we'll put it in there and use the file based on where that mark is to round off a finial ball and cut a little neck at that spot where the mark is, so that the little post will have that little finial ball on the top of it. It's going to stick up above the rack board just a little bit. So that's the next thing. Let me set up the camera for some time lapse and do a few of those. And I want to experiment with this brass black. I don't know if brass black is going to work on pewter or not. Otherwise, we'll use paint them black with black regular paint. But we definitely got to do that to all those baling pins very carefully. Okay, so after we got the finial filed down on there, I took 4 of them and drilled a 1mm hole in the butt, and then cut off a piece of 1mm rod that we'll use to anchor when we glue this down on the ship. This will help anchor it, because there will be a lot of ropes pulling up on this thing when we get all the baling pins in there and we get all the ropes tied down. We don't want it coming loose from the deck, so I might even add another pin over on this one in the front here, because it's sort of cantilevered away. That one I only got one on one side, so I'm just getting a little bit of glue on the just a tad on there, and then a little bit in the hole. I'm going to jam that on there where we think the right height is, and then I'm using the calipers to verify. I need to come out a little bit long, make them all the same height from the deck. So that's too much. A little tricky getting that depth correct. There we go, that's right on it. And now we'll glue in this one, and we'll be ready to paint or whatever. That one's tight there now. Before I wipe it off, let me check it. Yeah, perfect. And wipe off the glue on the top there. And then lay it down and check for straightness much as we can. Okay, so paint. I think it calls for a stain or red or something like that on these posts, and then we got to paint all the baling pins. So this is the brass black, which, if you can see in there, is not black at all. It's clear. It's probably some kind of acid. So I put it on the first couple pins there just to see, and watch how fast it turns. Those two we're doing. So here's the one that's silver. Just do a whole row of them at one time in the front here, and then come along the back And see, wow, that within seconds it's turning it black. So I'm really glad some of the followers told me about this. I got hairs coming off this cheap brush here. But yeah, that turns it black really quick. It's got to be some kind of an acid. Just get it on there liberally. Now, obviously, you don't want to get this on your skin, in your eyes, because if it's turning that pewter black that quick, it's probably some kind of acid. I read it real close the other day, but I don't remember seeing. I'm going to have to read it again, but now that it's clear, I'm going to have to read it again because I was assuming it was a type of acid that would cathodically react with the surface and turn it black. But it's for brass, so this is pewter. Yeah, it's working really good. We'll have all these done in no time, and it's not even a hard job of painting them. Okay, so we got them all painted up. Supposedly it's going to be like the plans show. I went ahead and put pins in the other legs. So we got 4 pins here, keep it from pulling up. 1 on each side of these. And then these 2 are going to go in the gunny wall on the bow where those 3 cannons are we haven't done yet. Right into the railing. So I added 2 pins that can fit in the side of the fat part of the railing that goes along the top of that wall. Hopefully I'll be able to drill a hole to receive those, and that'll give me strength for this after we put the baling pins and tie the ropes, because the ropes are going to be pulling up on this board, and I don't want to just depend on glue only, especially because the railing is painted that blue and yellow. So I've got these marked for the port and the starboard, and it just overlaps where the railings in there in the front, the beginning and the front part. So I got to get a hole into the side of this to receive these pins. But obviously I can't install that until we get the cannons done up here, so we'll have to work on them. But I did go ahead and paint the edges that'll match the paint job we did on these. Painted the legs and the edges of the rack so we don't see that laser cut. And I went ahead and painted the edges of these four here, but I got to go way forward in the prints to find out where they're going to be mounted at. I'm assuming back here, but I don't know. I didn't go far enough forward to find it because it wants us to do a bunch of decorations on the back of the ship next, so we'll worry about those. We got them painted ready to mount, and I may do the pin on those also. These are 1/2 millimeter diameter brass nails, and I'm cutting the head off of them. You can see one there. I cut the head off and then put super glue on it and jam it in there after I drill a 1/2 millimeter hole in the board in the right spot to line up with the top of the railing, the side of it. It's probably a little extra from what the plans show, but from my experience, you gotta have very strong batter boards to hold those dead eyes and to hold those baling pins, because there's a lot of stress on them from the ropes pulling up. So we're going to do whatever we got to do to make it stronger than just glue, especially when something is painted. It'll pull that paint right off with the glue sticking to the paint. Okay, so we're trying to be able to get these baling pin racks on, and before I can mount the rack, I've got to mount these cannons. I'm going to drill holes for those little pins to go in the wall. So we've got 3 of them done. We've got 3 more to go on this side. And those other baling pin racks we were working on, we got 2 of them mounted. This should be really good and strong. Drilled down in the deck and got them mounted. So I'm going to get the drum all out with the 1/2 millimeter drill bit and pop some holes in here and get these glued up and mounted up there. And then we can try to put this one baling pin rack on the starboard side. Yeah. Drill some holes into that railing. See how that's going to work. Get those mounted. But we're making progress. We've only got 3 cannons left that need to be laced up with the block and tackle like these here. That's a good feeling. It took about 2 hours to get 3 of them done, but they're just time consuming. Let's see what the chickens are up to. You're not a chicken. Well, if it's dark out, yeah, he's a chicken. Scaredy cat. Oh, there's 2 of them. There's 3 of them. One's in the dirt bath. The other 2 are scratching up holes. Well, they all 3 come up when I squat down. Don't pack my lens. They get treats every day. Got some cracked corn and mealy worms. That's their daily treat in the morning. I already had 2 eggs this morning. None right now. We got this door covered with plastic because of keep the wind out because it's cold. Cold here in Florida. Are you shaking all that sand off? You was just in there. That's their feeder. Helps them lay eggs. Once we got a door, we can go out there and clean or bed or give them treats or whatever. And at night they'll jump up there. Most of the time they sleep up here. Got the heat lamp on today because it's almost freezing this morning. There's the other 2 quackers. I clean that pond once a week and they still mess it up. Mud dogs. Blue Foss is outside. You talking like a chicken? They'll let you pick them up. They like to peck my ring. Okay, for now, my egg factory. We've been averaging 3 eggs a day the last 3 days. Also wants to go back in the house. So I'm going to sit down and try to finish lacing up these 3. We did get the other 3 mounted in the wall, and we got the baling pin rack pinned in there into that railing and glued on with some E6000. Should be strong enough to withstand ropes pulling on it. So we got to get these 3 done so we can do this side. Well, looky there. We're finally done with all the cannons. And we got the baling pin rack on. Using that 1/2 millimeter. I mean, look at that little thing. It's so small, the zoom doesn't even work. Or the focus. 0.5 millimeters. But that was just right for those pins. Go in that railing there in the top. And some E6000. I added a little extra dab underneath on these ends here because there's no pin on the ends. That'll give this strength. And on both sides you can see. So all the cannons are done. I do need to glue down some of these cannonball boxes. These 4 here and those 2. And we can put our last, well, not the last one, but the one we just made up. I think that installs, not sure now, because I was waiting to get that done before I put these racks on. But I know this other one goes somewhere. Oh yeah, it's probably probably here. I gotta look in the plans and see. Oh, I see it right now. This one's already done. And this one is done next to that hole. Something ain't right here. 'Cause that's the 3. Okay, so that's got to be this one. Yeah, it's somewhere else on the plans. I'll figure that out. Well, we got the cannons done this week. Well, the ones on the main decks, top and the front. We still got tons of cannons to put in over here, but those are just going to be stuck into that piece of framing that's in there that's black. But we'll worry about going on to the next thing in the plans instead of that. So thanks for watching.